Let's see the logo.
And we're live? All right. Well, as Dave figures out how to work the camera, welcome everybody to a boundless journey of American Flyer S-Gauge trains. It is catalog time. This is a special one for us. It marks 75 years of American Flyer S-Gauge, which is pretty cool. So we wanted to do a few special things in this catalog, as well as take a few minutes. You know, we bring this catalog out at the beginning of the year with our O-Gauge catalog, and there's so much stuff in there to cover. We don't want S-Gauge to get lost in the fray, so we've split that out and given it its own special and so forth. And Dave apparently would like to say something. So Dave, would you like to go ahead?
I just wanted to say, hold on to your horses. This is going to be a wild episode.
All right. So for those of you who are new to Ryan and Dave,
nobody's new to us.
Well, American Flyer folks might, because we're usually just talking about O-Gauge stuff, and they might miss us. So I'm Ryan Kunkel. I'm the director of production product here at Lionel.
I'm Dave Olson. I mop the floors.
Dave is our head of engineering. And between the two of us, we're responsible for screwing up everything in the Lionel and American Flyer catalogs.
That's us.
So, we typically get on a couple of times a year and do what we call the Ryan and Dave show and talk about new product, new features. You may have seen Dave on Monday nights on some of our social media channels doing his demos with Dave. Just last night, he was on talking about our voice control feature, which is something very cool that's relevant to American Flyer in this catalog as well. We'll talk about that in a little bit. And so this time we get to focus on American Flyer and S-Gauge, which is nice. I like seeing trains on two-rail tracks, so anytime we get to do that is a nice thing for me.
I don't know why you like the unprototypical two-rail. It's so weird.
Well, they're not subways, so two-rail works. All right, so enough of the banter and the chit-chat. Let's get on into American Flyer 75 years and our new catalog. Catalog.
Up on the screen.
All right.
I like the cover of it.
Yeah, we went for a retro feel in this part of the catalog, and it turned out, I think, really nice. This is, in all honesty, this is actually my favorite part of the catalog that we put out this year from a look and feel perspective. It just has a really nice cohesive theme to it. I like the way this catalog really came together.
Yeah, I like the old style looking graphics, like, you know, on the table of contents. I love that picture up top. That just looks like what a Lionel or a Gilbert catalog might have looked like in the 50s. You know?
Yeah, and I think that's been Lionel's mission with American Flyer over the years, is to continue to innovate and add new things and expand the horizons, but still maintaining what made Gilbert's American Flyer so unique and so great, and those spirits of innovation and attention to detail, but also with some fun play value as a great toy train. And it's interesting as you look at the timeline that we put together here. Obviously, we didn't include every milestone in S-Gauge history, but
for a big catalog.
Yeah, but you know, you look. Gilbert produced S-Gauge trains from 1946 to 1967 when Lionel bought the tooling. And then we started producing trains in 1979 through today. So if you do the math on that, Lionel has actually been producing American Flyer 2 years for every one that it was AC Gilbert. So I think Lionel's done a pretty good job over the years of keeping this tradition alive and well for this and future generations. All right, we've got a little bit of a preview of one of the cool highlights come up here. This next page in the catalog does go over some of the main features of the different trains. We won't spend a lot of time here, but we will talk about some of these things, including Lionel voice control, as we get into some of the Flyer Chief offerings here down the road. So, 75th anniversary product. You know, it wouldn't be an anniversary if we didn't deck out a couple of cars for it. And an engine. So this time we did a full set, and I think what a lot of people will be excited about is the return of the USRA Pacifics into the American Flyer lineup. after many years' absence. There was a lot of concern. This tooling sort of went missing for about a decade, but we found it in the warehouse in Korea, and now it's coming back again. We'll update this with the latest in legacy control and features. But this is a wonderful, I mean, looking at the models on this that we had, we managed to find a few samples still on site here of the last runs, and really is a beautifully balanced locomotive. A lot of nice detail on this. One of the first scale pieces that Lionel introduced into the line. So it's fitting that it's coming back here in the 75th anniversary. And if the sets and the separate sail locomotives do well, of course, you can probably expect to see Mikados not too far down the road in an upcoming catalog.
Yeah, and I really like the Flyer Legacy Pacific. One, for what you said in terms of detailing and being a higher end model compared to our middle range Flyer Chief engines. But it also has legacy control, so you get the full features of a legacy engine, including a quilling whistle and everything else that legacy has to offer. Now, one thing to know too is that American Flyer legacy engines do not include Bluetooth, so you have to use the legacy remote to control the engine. But remember that they do also have DCC, something that's not present in no-cage.
Yes.
So it's kind of a trade-off between Bluetooth and DCC. And we figure most people in the Flyer two-rail realm that are buying legacy engines probably use DCC rather than Bluetooth.
Yeah, DCC is a great control system, and of course these will still operate conventionally as well.
Correct, and these will work on both AC and DC transformers.
Yeah, so whether you're the AC or the DC crowd, you're good to go on this if you're still in conventional mode. These will have the Track IR feature on them as well, right, Dave?
Right. Yeah. So one great thing that you can use that we unveiled a couple of years ago is the LCS IR V2. So that allows you to add the sensor track technology to any track system. You don't have to just be married to Fastrack. We never did a sensor track in American Flyer Fastrack. So now you can take the IRV2 and add it to your anything from your traditional tubular rail going back 75 years, all the way to nicer, more realistic modern track systems that you can get today.
Very good. And one other thing to note on here, because it's one thing that was a mistake that I made in the catalog. The minimum curve on these is R20. It's not R27. That hasn't changed since the last run. So for anybody out there who's been watching this and concerned about that, I know we had a couple of questions come in on that one. These will still do the same curve as the original locomotive. So no worries there. You don't need to go and build a bigger loop on your layout. All right. And of course, we've also got the commemorative boxcar up there as well, which is really neat. This will be a specially printed car that has some neat background image behind the logo. And it's the type of graphics that are becoming more and more possible today, but really certainly weren't anything available even just 10 years ago. So
I think it looked real good with that set in between the tender and the first passenger.
Yeah, make a nice express boxcar or, stand on its own. All right. Well, we started talking about the Pacifics a little bit already, but we do have these available in separate sale options as well.
So we're going to get a little more specific on the Pacifics?
Yeah, let's get some more specifics on Pacifics. We've got all new road names here. We did our best to not repeat any of the road names from the initial runs of these years back. Of course, the interesting part with this is that the USRA Pacific, everyone thinks of these as standard engines that everybody had, but there were really only a couple of operators of the original USRA Pacifics. And then there were many, many more copies thereafter. So we've used roads that operated at least similar locomotives to these, if not original USRA Light 462s. Also down there in the bottom right on the spread, you'll see the US version. This is how most of the locomotives were delivered, with only the railroads reporting marks or name up on the top of the coal bunker. And we thought this was a great way, if you were modeling any of those roads, to add that little detail, or just use it as it is. And further back in the catalog, we'll get to some really cool U.S. Army add-on packs of cars that would look great behind this, or your other locomotives in a troop train or hospital train. So some really neat stuff there. Hope that those are popular. And some other great road names as well from all the corners of the country.
Yeah, and one thing to note too, back on these Pacifics, is they will be scale coupler compatible.
Yes, which is very nice. If you've got a nice scale engine like this with DCC and legacy control and all of that, it's sort of the final touches to put a scale coupler on the back of that and not have the big lobster claw hanging out there.
Brian, what do you think of the train colors?
The train colors?
Yeah.
Well, we can't screw up black too badly. And the green on the Great Northern, we'll be doing a darker green on that this time around than we've done on the past several O-gauge offerings. That's something we'll be changing on both product lines this year. So I think that'll stand out quite nicely. And then if you want a nice splash of color, of course, we've got the 75th anniversary set, and we've got this great one here for the Reading and Northern. Beautiful blue Pacific. And anybody who's been in Eastern Pennsylvania, you've probably seen the Reading and Northern's excursions. It was a great ride whenever you can catch the 4 1/4 out on the rails. And we've done it as it is now with the current paint scheme on the tender and a nice excursion consist in this set with the baggage car, which for them doubles as I think a generator car and maybe the shop or something like that.
Probably have a kitchen in there too.
Yeah, and a couple of coaches and the caboose, which is a standard on a lot of the excursions. So
I really think that blue is just the best. It really points the way.
It's a neat paint scheme. A very popular railroad, very popular excursion. I've ridden behind that engine a couple of times, and it's a cool one. I wanted to include that in there, and it's definitely based on the USRA design. So a really neat
Really brings it front and forward.
All right, let's talk EP5s for a little bit.
Oh yes, the F5.
The EP5. So these are coming.
Electric.
I'm not going there. This is coming back into the catalog again. We cataloged this first time about a year ago.
Yes.
And we're hoping that we can get enough orders on this to actually produce it. I'm just going to be flat out honest with everybody out there on it. We need to see some stronger sales here in order to meet production minimums and make this locomotive happen. And
we're still quite a ways under MOQ on this guy. I personally want to see this one happen because I spent design time on this one, redesigning, portions of the underbelly, electric coupler mounting, electronics inside, and there's really a lot of new, nice features to this engine over the last release, to where I think it would be really good if we did move forward and make this guy.
I agree, and I mean, I know at least Ed Boyle would be happy.
Yes, Ed would definitely be excited as he worked with us on this project.
Helped us out a lot with some samples and things like that. So I very much would like to see this one happen too. I know how much work you put into it, and it is a cool locomotive. It was only really run by the New Haven, and then there were a few that got repainted for Penn Central, but still a really neat locomotive and a classic in the American Flyer line. And just like you've all seen already with the upgrades that were made to the Jeep and the Baldwin Switcher, the transition from the older versions of these locomotives to the new Flyer Chief gives you so many advantages in terms of speed control and performance, sound, and so forth. Dave, do you want to talk a little bit, since this was our first Flyer Chief locomotive in the catalog with Bluetooth, talk a little bit about LVC?
LVC. Lionel's very creative. Oh, wait, no. Voice control.
Voice control.
That's right. So anything Bluetooth we've done, spanning back to 2017, and fun fact, our first Bluetooth engine was actually an American Flyer engine. Remember that, Ryan?
That is true.
That's back when you didn't have any gray hair.
I know.
Look what your boss has done to you.
Yeah. Then I started going to shows and meeting the guys from the NESG, and this is what happened.
You got it. I mean, I haven't even been, and look at me.
Yeah, I mean,
Nowhere
that's the
near
difference.
as good as you.
Yeah. Mike said I had to give a shout out to the NESG. I think that was the appropriate spot to do that.
I think so. Beards and trains. Anyways, back to Flyer Chief and Bluetooth and voice control. I do suggest that you watch my preview of Demos with Dave that I did last night, where I showed voice control using my Android phone. But remember, it's also available on iOS. So if you download the Lion Chief app on iOS or Android, you get the latest version, or if you update your version, if you already have the app, you'll be able to use Lionel voice control. And if you enter voice control and you say help, you'll get a list of the basic voice commands. So it'll show you the ones that you can say to control speed, smoke, volume, etc. And as well as Easter eggs that you can play around with and discover fun features that we've added in that are not included in the help menu. So any Flyer Chief engine that does have Bluetooth will be compatible with Dyno voice control. Definitely urge you to check it out. It's kind of a new innovation that we're pretty excited about.
Yeah, I think it's neat. Those who've tried it so far have come back with a lot of positive comments on it, and saying it's a really fun feature and just a neat new way to do it. And of course, if you already have an American Flyer Chief locomotive with Bluetooth on board, as Dave said, you can already go ahead and start using it with the app.
Yeah,
So
sure.
some of the existing Baldwin Switchers, Jeeps, the Northerns, you can give them voice control.
For sure.
Very cool stuff. All right, some additional passenger cars that we're, again, trying to get some more orders on before we get the orders over to the factory. We've got these in Great Northern and New Haven. We've put out a couple of locomotives now that would work with these. Of course, the New Havens would fit nicely with those EP5s. We've done a variety of Great Northern engines, from the current Pacific to, I think we did an EP5. We did a 484 Northern.
So many choices.
Yeah, we've done some PAs for New Haven. Of course, a lot of cars going back for the New Haven and the Flyer lineup. But a lot of the trains were done with the lightweight cars. So we wanted to do some heavyweights this time around, something a little bit different. And I think these would be great matches with any of those locomotives. So no excuse not to go and grab a bunch and add them into the roster. All right.
What we got next, Ryan?
Next, we got some new freight cars. We've got the 2-bay hoppers. These are available in 5 road numbers each. So if you're putting together a nice little string of cars and making a little coal train, you can have separate road numbers on the cars. We've done prototypical paint schemes on these to try and increase the realism. All of these are based on prototype cars of the same size. So some nice graphics on here.
I feel like if I was still playing football, Ryan, my nickname would be the Coal Train.
The coal train?
Yeah.
Roscoe P.
Roscoe P. Coal Train.
Yeah.
And if I was wearing a dress while also playing, I would be the Coal Train.
We've crossed that bridge already on the show, Dave.
Oh goodness, but yeah, that was.
Single dome tank cars. Again, a variety of prototypical paint schemes on here for a number of oil and chemical companies. This is the variation without the walkway around the upper expansion dome there. So some really cool paint schemes on these, and they certainly add to every consist. I teased the U.S. Army cars a little bit earlier. We've got 3 different 4-packs of cars here. So we've got a 4-pack of the coaches done up as hospital cars. We've got a 4-pack of passenger cars for a troop train, and then we've got a 4-pack of freight cars there as a mixed consist. So you could combine all of these into one. You could combine 1 or 2 of them, mix and match, or just mix them in with regular cars as you see fit. We've also got the Searchlight car available there separately. It's a nice car. It's a die-cast car, a lot of weight on that one.
I was going to say how much I like that car, and I do like the colors it's in as well.
Mm-hmm. So a really nice assortment here. We talked about that with the U.S. Pacific, or obviously the military cars ran on any railroad, so you can put these in behind any locomotive. All right. We've got some great Christmas rolling stock as well. Our bestseller year over year in American Flyer is always the Christmas boxcar by far. So we've got a fun new addition on that one this year. And then we haven't done this yet. We've done it for a while in O-Gauge, but bringing the fun into American Flyer is our Christmas music boxcar, and this one will play music on the rails. So you have some Christmas music rolling around your Christmas tree.
Yeah, this one will be great. It uses a 9-volt battery, right?
I believe that's how we're doing it.
Yeah, That's awesome. So that way you don't even have to have your layout powered up, because you just set it on the shelf and listen to Christmas songs as well.
Mm-hmm. And then we've got another Searchlight car there, decked out in the green and red for Christmas as well. A nice Santa Finder, Santa Tracker car.
Santa Finder.
Santa Finder. I've said flyer too many times. All right. All right. Of course, Polar Express. It wouldn't be a Flyer or a Lionel catalog without some Polar Express. This has been a very good seller to an addition into the American Flyer line. We've done hundreds of these Polar Express sets in Flyer. Personally, I think this is one of the nicest looking Polar Express sets that we've done.
Yeah, I especially really like the die-cast and scale proportions of Berkshire.
Yes, as a guy who likes scale-looking things myself, this one has that right balance and right look. And I think this set has helped to introduce a whole new audience into S-Gauge, which is what we really hope for it to do.
I mean, so basically what you're saying, Ryan, is that it's a magic train.
It's a magic train.
I want to believe.
We've got a couple of new additions into the American Flyer line. If you've already started your set and want to expand it, we've got 2 sleeping cars. The idea behind this was sort of a Pullman company style car with car names underneath the windows. So we moved the Polar Express lettering up to the top on these with the car name below. We did 2 cars, North Pole and Believe. And then also a Polar Express version of the Searchlight car as well, because we've done some Polar Express freight cars, and if you want to have a polar freight train, you can start to assemble one of those.
I'm a real big fan too of the snow deco on the roof.
It is neat. It adds a nice touch to it, and whether you're in the book or the movie, it's kind of fun how from scene to scene, sometimes it's got snow on the roof, sometimes it doesn't. But sometimes it's got 3 cars in the train, sometimes it's got 50. But
keeps you on your toes.
Yeah, so you can always mix and match everything that you're doing in these cars.
And again, the blue there, really awesome.
All right, American Flyer S-Gauge Fastrack. Complete system. We haven't expanded it, but we still do. A lot of our sales in the S-Gauge market are in Fastrack. And so a full system here ready to go and ready to use. You can configure multiple layout options. We do have a transition track available as well if you're transitioning to older tubular style rail, which is nice. If you need newer switches, for example, and want to switch out, you have that option here.
The great part about Fastrack, both in O and S, is just how quickly you can put it together and just get yourself up and running. You don't have to worry about soldering wires and ballasting and all that stuff. You can get a functional layout in a pretty short period of time.
Yep.
Or even build yourself a layout that you put under the Christmas tree and take down a month later, right?
Yeah, you've got that nice roadbed base on there that keeps things, if you just put it on the carpet, it keeps it up out of the carpet fibers and the cat hair and all that other stuff, and makes it a lot nicer to run your trains. You don't get as much gunk up in the wheels and the gears. So a great system for those who are running rug roads out there. All right, a couple more pieces of Fastrack, and then again, we've talked a little bit about this already, but voice control and the Lion Chief app. If you haven't picked up a cell phone yet, by all means, go out and get one just so you can have the Flyer Chief app, and then it's worth it just for that.
And it really does make control of the trains easy, and kids love it.
Mm-hmm.
Because, what kid doesn't know how to use an iPhone better than we do?
Oh, all of them.
Especially Ryan.
Yeah, I'm not very phone savvy, but even I can use it. So if I can use this app,
That's saying a lot.
I'm the beta tester here.
Yeah, that's saying a lot. Ryan's good at breaking things,
Yeah,
especially technology.
If it doesn't have a rotary dial on it, I'm just not sure what to do with it.
Operator.
All right, so let's see. Did we have any questions pop in, Dave, that you saw come up that we need to answer before we move on?
Well, I think we probably want to let the folks know that we will have a C2 catalog, and there might be some items coming back, right?
Absolutely. There will be a C2 coming and more new Flyer to come. So this year's not over yet, not by a long shot, but we will definitely be doing some more things as we go there.
Yep, and then everything that's in this catalog that we just reviewed as well is aimed to ship this year, as long as the orders come in good and we move forward with everything.
That's right. We'll be closing our order window the end of this month because it's already February. Somehow. And so you've got about 4 weeks, maybe a little less. Check with your dealers. Make sure that each of them sometimes have a little bit of a different timeline for when they want to close in their order window so they can gather up all their information and send it in. And then usually about the first and second week of March, we've got everything tabulated and send off to the factories. And then if you'll give us probably about another 2 to 4 weeks after that. So beginning of April, mid-April is when you can start to expect to see updates to the shipping schedule to give you an idea of when all of these goodies will be arriving in for the rest of the year. So I know that seems like a long way away. trust us, it'll be here before you know it.
I didn't even know it was February already.
Yeah, and I know that everyone watches the Lionel shipping schedule daily for the updates, but we're in that period right now where it's waiting on the orders to come in, and then orders to go to the factories, and then once they see how much of everything they have to make, it's a little easier to fine tune that schedule and give you guys some accurate dates. Anything we put out there right now would just be tossed out there in our wildest guess, and yeah, we're not very good at seeing into the future that way. So, Dave, any other thoughts you have on S-Scale and where you see it going with Lionel in the future?
I think we keep plowing away with what we've been doing. We certainly get to offer some very cool and innovative products, and it's nice when we can have the occasional "haha, we found that tooling" release. So like Ryan said, we have the Pacific now and coming out with new road names and that for you to enjoy. And again, we might have mistakenly stumbled upon the Mikado tooling as well. So you might be seeing that again in the future in Legacy.
So lots more good things to come, and we're 75 years young, and we've been at Flyer now for about 42 years or something like that in the Lionel world. Actually, it's a little longer than that, and no sign of quitting anytime soon. So you've all got nothing to worry about there other than looking forward to when we get the next catalog out.
Yes, I will be excited and waiting for that one.
All right. Well, with that, I think we sign off for the day. Get your orders to your favorite Lionel American Flyer dealer. Don't miss out on these. We'd like to see all of these things get made and delivered to you so that you can have some fun with them here before the year is out. Yes. And we will.
I need to keep myself socially distanced away from Ryan.
Yes. Yeah. Well, we are finally back in the building together, which is nice after almost a year of forced separation. And I think some of that stuff was just to keep the two of us from wreaking havoc on the product line again. But
here we are.
So we're back again, and it's good to be back with all of you. And we're hoping that by the end of this year, we'll get to see you all at some shows again in person once more and have that fun.
I'm sure people miss seeing our faces in person.
I don't think they miss seeing us as much as we miss seeing them and going out to a train show and having some fun.
I just miss road food.
Exactly. I think, yeah, that was kind of where I was batting at.
Like if we go to Pennsylvania and stuff, I just want to eat the food. Yeah. Look at me.
So I think now it's obviously 5:30 and Dave's getting hungry. So this is the
I'm hungry.
This is the appropriate time to wrap this up. Thank you all for tuning in with us today. We look forward to seeing you down the rails. Stay safe, everybody, and we'll see you soon.